business is very different, and once you master it, it is one of the most enjoyable experiences in life. Hi, I'm John Messervey, private advisor to America's leading families. I advise, I counsel, I coach, I mentor, I encourage, I push, I persuade. I help family members build unity and harmony over generations. Never easy. Sometimes they get stuck. I help them get unstuck. The themes are consistent. We talk about succession and governance, next generation development, communication, transparency, and really most importantly, building trust in the family. And it's really their agenda. It's truly their agenda, not mine. I don't have a bag of tricks. I don't work magic. I don't have the secret sauce. It's roll up your sleeves, here we go. Sometimes I have to say things that really a family member shouldn't say. Sometimes I have to be the one to say, you know, young Jim or Sally really can't hit the pitching and really needs to consider another career path. That is much better said if I say that than if some member of the family. Because in family communication, what Uncle Joe or Aunt Susie says, that can get etched in granite and never forgotten or forgiven. All family entrepreneurs have a struggle, and they have a dream. And the dream can be quite precise, or the dream can be quite vague, but they know how they want the story to end. And it ends with a unified and secure family that is communicating well and operating a business that is their legacy. There's something very special about watching a family go from here to here. I don't believe in what I call checklist consulting, where you give someone a top 10 list of things to do. I find that to be rather absurd. I like to see, all right, what's the next biggest step the client can take? And then from there, and then from there. And once they get some momentum going, we can direct the energy, but they get out of stuck and they get in gear and things start to happen. The difference is I care. I truly care about my clients. That sounds maybe obvious, but it's not, or a cliche, but it's not. I truly care about every person that comes in this door. And I think they feel that.
I want to talk about security today because I was in the White House Friday. I was at Arlington National Cemetery dedicating a plaque to OSS on Saturday morning. Saturday night was the OSS ball, which is known as the spy ball. And back to Lake Forest, Illinois, where I live on Sunday, down to Dallas to see a family and develop their next generation, 18 members of the third generation. And then here to last night at the Daxton and here at the Maury. So how could it can't get any better than that, right? I wanted to share a presentation that I gave at we have a conference in Chicago called the FEW Conference. FEW stands for Family, Enterprise, and Wealth, and we started it 15 years ago. Lynn came, and God, I'm glad she did because it gets me here today. FEW is about some of the things SJ talked about change and about getting ready for what's going to happen. I mean, we're in a really tumultuous time. I'm an optimist, so I kind of pick up where SJ was. I truly believe our best days are ahead. It's going to be difficult. We're going to have to work hard. And so I'm going to throw out a few things. I'll throw out some anecdotes. Maybe you'll remember some of the stories. I'll try to blend towards security. But this is a presentation I've been working on this year about how the long road of family wealth keeps moving. And I'm going to knock down some myths of family business that you may have heard. And I'm going to add some things that I think are going to give you a pathway, or those that you work with or for, a pathway to have long-term family wealth and a healthy family. Lately, I used to sit on airplanes, and if someone asked me what I did, I would tell them I sold term life insurance. And that would just make sure they would not bother me. But lately, that's a good, no, keep it up. Actually, you know what's really interesting? My wife and I were flying to Washington Friday morning from Chicago, and we're coming down the jetway, and there's this really monstrous Chicago cop at the end of the jetway. So I said to my wife, something's up, because I go down too many jetways where nobody's there. And we get on, and right then, as we get on, we were sitting up front and in the first row, up comes this lady, this little petite lady in this purple, beautiful dress, and it is Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi. And she sits there, and when she sat in her seat, immediately grabbed the Wall Street Journal, which parenthetically is owned by the Murdoch family, and picked up the Wall Street and buried herself in the paper, so no one could talk to her. Although she was delightful, and we talked to us for a few minutes, but yeah, it's Nancy Pelosi, and then it's over here is me. So we'll go there. Let's start with this. We are in an age right now where people are scared, and they don't need to be as much. We have tremendous people out there all over the world trying to keep America safe. We're in this era. I'm an old guy. Okay, I'll just put that out there. I'm old. I've seen this movie before. I've seen very bad times in America, and we cover. We do have this way to move back to center. And I've worked with a lot of real estate families, and they build their wealth through real estate. I love real estate, and I want to bring you through this particular part of the myths of family business. And you've heard this story of the 3-generation, shirt sleeve to shirt sleeves in 3 generations, or you see rice paddies to rice paddies in Asia, and the 3 circles of family ownership and management. What I really want to say is those things really don't matter too much right now. What matters is what I would call an N of 1. As Lynn said, I've worked with about 445 families from Hanoi to Brussels, from Bogota to Mumbai, and they all have the same thing. They want their family to be healthy. They want to be, wealth helps. But there's all of the trappings along the way, and I'm going to show you a path that gets you there. One of the things I don't care about is this new academic view. I'm going to crack on my academic friends for a minute. They've run out of articles to write, and it's a little bit like Sunday after Thanksgiving when the turkey has been totally plucked. There's nothing left to say. If you're going to form a family council, do it. If you're going to form a family vision, mission, and statement, do it. If you're going to create a philanthropic council, please do it. But after that, I work in the area where, down here, not the symptomatic issues that families face, but the deeper currents. So the latest idea has been this: we're going to create a 100-year family business. And I'm saying that's a very expensive course to be under. That can pay a heavy price on your family unless you have a long-term low-rent lease with a very tight capex at 57th and Park in a jewelry store. Then you're good. But after that, a lot of other challenges you're going to face. So where I'm going is, let's start with the best part of family wellness. Because those of you that have families that are, when I would say small children right now, you're married, you've got small children, I doubt if you've ever had a discussion where you've said to your spouse, I really want to talk about what kind of family we want to have and what's going to be healthy for us, and what do you bring to the table from your family, and what do I bring to the table from my family. So some of the things that I like to push, I spent 10 years at psychology at Menninger Management Institute. We studied family systems theories. Families are prone to repeat behaviors. Freud talked about repetition compulsion. Murray Bowen of Georgetown talks about multi-generational transmission, meaning that families tend to do what they've always done before. My job, as you saw in the video, is to kind of gently nudge that course toward a healthier path and avoid the time bombs that go off in family business. That can be quite dramatic and very expensive. So one of the things we like to see is that families have an amount of individuation or amount of identity creation, so that it isn't a forced march to end up in your family business, that you actually enjoy the experience. I work with families in restaurants. I work with families in real estate. I work with families in manufacturing. I work with security. I'm actually working very heavily right now in strategic metals in America. Talk about that if you want later on. But it's a big, big operation right now in America. We talk tangent for a second. We talk all these, another announcement this morning of a battery plant in Tennessee, another one in Michigan, another one in Illinois. They need the cobalt, copper, and nickel, and that's going to be hard to find when 90% of the cobalt in the world is in the Congo, processed by the Chinese. So all of these, just FYI, all of these pronouncements that we're going to be EV by 2030 or 2035, California is going to go this way, or New York's going to go this way, or the Defense Department's going to go this way. It's going to be really hard to do if we don't have the materials to put in the batteries. So the politicians kind of left that out of the equation so far. Enough of that. Back to the story. So here we are. I start with the entrepreneur. And when I started studying this, the entrepreneur was really a father-son story, the son wanting to outdo the father. Those of you from Chicago that know Rich Mellman, brilliant creator of Let Us Entertain Your Restaurants, Rich was literally kicked out of his deli by his father in Skokie and said, "You'll never make it in the restaurant business." Well, 130 brilliant restaurant concepts later, he's done very, very well, Rich and Martha. And that was the old story. Now the new story is the entrepreneurs, particularly out of Silicon Valley, the entrepreneurs are saying, "I want to change the world." That was the Steve Jobs model that so many have followed, and maybe an Elon Musk model. So we've watched this happen. But the story of where the wealth came from needs to be told in the family. Too many people are missing that part. They're missing the did it alone, did it broke, did it tired, did it scared. Because right now, the numbers are all over the place, but let's just use one. $68 trillion of wealth being transferred from the baby boomer generation to the millennial generation. In part, that scares the heck out of me. The reason I'm scared is there's a big difference between earned money and inherited money. A big difference. Earned money has value. Earned money is I did it. Earned money is I did it alone, broke, tired, scared. Inherited money is just flowing in. So I'm going to pick on Mackenzie Scott today. Mackenzie Scott, Jeff Bezos' ex, last year gave away $2.7 billion to 286 organizations. And I don't think she checked and due diligence and impacted what those organizations did. They went up, I mean, it was money flying out of there. And we'll leave Bezos out of it, but just inherited wealth is different. And we'll see what's going to happen in this world with that kind of money, 86 trillion floating around. So this is a chart I've been working on for years. It basically is the path of a family business. And if you start out in the lower left, entrepreneurial side, broke and unemployed. Dad may have come back. He may have been fired. He may have said, "Geez, I'm stuck. I'm going to start my own business," or mom. And this is the first stage. It actually rolls out. It's survival. I've got to make it. This is the stage of a path of family business. Every day is a new adventure. Almost every client that I've done their family history on and listened to them 10,000 interviews, there was a time when, boy, oh boy, it was pretty close. New York family, they owned a bunch of apartment buildings, couldn't pay ComEd, the electric bill. Friday afternoon, ComEd shuts them down. All the tenants are upset. This is many years ago. All the tenants are upset. Of course, they told them, "Oh, they cut the line 3 blocks away. We're sorry. They had to come up with some money over the weekend." Well, being good New Yorkers, of course, they didn't believe that story, and they found out that basically their apartment landlord was broke. And that was the official, what I call the OLP for the family business. That was the official low point in that family. They went on to build, from that point forward, a $1 billion collection of apartments in New York City. And so there's the struggle, and that's the good struggle. By the way, these lines are not smooth. But when it gets to the time when the family intellect, the family motivation, the family drive cannot push it, they can't hit the pitching. So I'm with a family that they sold their company, and I said to the new owners, "Where's Dick, the former owner? Is he going to be around?" And the new owners looked at me, and I'm a young consultant, I'll never forget this. They said, "John, we're a $300 million company, and Dick was a $50 million guy." So, you end up with, some people can only go so far. This fellow, Dan Sullivan, up in Toronto, he talks about the ceiling of complexity. Family members hit that ceiling of complexity. They can only grow so far with their talent. So, phase 2, they've got to grow. There's more competition. People are taking them seriously. Nobody wants them to fail. And they had to have management expertise. And most of that management expertise is a problem. I have a client right now that is a $90 million company, and they have a son and a daughter. It's more of a, in the father's view, a male-driven enterprise. I don't believe that anymore. Daughter went to Harvard. Son has spent 7 years after college, good college, not great, good college. He's been 4 jobs in 4 years. In the last 3 years, he's been finding himself in private equity. He was just named president last week, much to the dismay of the daughter, who was never consulted. And so he spent 7 years doing not a lot, no record of achievement, and he's now president. It's a little bit like Tommy Boy. So those of you that love Tommy Boy, I love Tommy Boy. Matter of fact, we can't get through many of our interviews without a Tommy Boy or an Animal House of double secret probation metaphor. Humor helps, by the way. Humor in family business is the garden hose that washes away all the crud. So it's good to have a good laugh at how absurd it is to actually be in business with your family. So anyhow, we're rolling along, and competition and management expertise is growing, and then you have to make a decision. How long can we ride this pony? How long can we be this company in this market with these people at that time and fit all of the needs of our family? And then it gets interesting. So we have another, as you see, the second wrinkle in the curve. We have another big wrinkle, and that wrinkle is where we've got to add more talent that probably is non-family. We've got to decide to diversify. We've got to have a strategy, and that's where I come in, the security strategy of creating the wealth, possibly I've bought and sold about 40 family businesses of various sizes at times. I don't do the IB work. I don't do the investment banking work. I just do the family side. So off we go. And what you see up there on the right is what's called the platform model. And that's what I want to talk to you about this morning very quickly. The platform model is, to me, one of the salvations of family business, where we move out of that and we get further. I'm going to skip through these graphs because of time. Stage 1 is the entrepreneurial stage. I've described that. The stage 1 transition is there's new growth and competition in the market. You've got to ask yourself, are our children competent? And by the way, much of my job is telling parents things that they shouldn't tell their children, or telling their children things that they shouldn't tell their parents. I'm the guy that comes from Chicago and can say things that shouldn't be said by family members, because those things can be etched in stone. And mine can be, I'm just the consultant, I'm just the advisor. And there's, the whole issue of hired guns and in-laws and outlaws, and then, somebody marries a litigation attorney, or somebody thinks that the minority stock share should be fully valued, or I have one last week, sold a big company for about 190, and father came to me. They had done brilliant estate planning, brilliant, but all of this multi-layers of trust, etc. And the daughter's idea is, I want to have my American Express card linked to my trust. Now, I've listened to a lot of stories. I've never heard of that. But linking your American Express card to your trust. So the father said, John, I keep telling her she can't do that, but if you tell her, she'll believe you. So I'm going to have to tell her that. You cannot link your American Express card to your trust, which you will not get till you're 50. Okay, we have to accelerate the growth, and we move along. And by the way, anybody who wants this talk, give me your card. And just write, you can write 1 or 2 things on it. 1, you can write presentation, and I'll get it. I'll send it to you. And 2, if you want any information about the FEW conference at the Peninsula Hotel in Chicago, Q1 next year, we don't have a date exactly yet, but write FEW on it, and you'll be invited on the list, because I trust that Lynn has good people here. Because it's all by invitation. The beginning of the end, I love this, is I worked hard so you wouldn't have to. You've heard that phrase. Parents say that. Now, that is a killer. That is not going to happen. And the second one is, I'm a capitalist at the office and a socialist at home. So we just keep giving our children the money that they have not earned. In Lake Forest, Illinois, I think it's some kind of law that when a kid gets to be 16, they get a Jeep Wrangler. I'm sure it's the same around here. Yeah. So anyhow, stage 2 to stage 3 is much more succession drama. Succession is when all of the unresolved family issues rise to the surface to be dealt with. Very complicated time. Power, control, conflict, and intimacy. Power, how close, who has it? Control, who needs it? Conflict, how do we resolve it? And usually there's a model for that in the family. And intimacy, how far apart or how close together are we going to be? So one of the issues that families have to do all the time you can see the family psychology coming out of this, is they have to negotiate distance. You have to negotiate distance in your marriage, with your friends, at work, of course, and other social settings. So we're constantly pushing together and moving apart. This is the accordion that marriages have to understand, friendships have to understand. So I've already mentioned that. I also asked this question, and it's apropos completely of our conference today with Lynn and everyone. It's 2032, 10 years from now. What decisions would you have liked to have made back in 2022 that will affect your future? You know, give me a long-term horizon. Americans are very short-term. The American diseases make it faster, better, quicker. But let's sit back and just say, okay, it's 2032. I'm not sure that some of the businesses that I serve are even going to be in business, because that iPhone is changing everything. I mean, Robinhood, Bitcoin, blockchain, international trade, the Chinese, Ukraine. Now we can pronounce cities in Ukraine. Who knew? So the stage 3 is where we have a vigorous hold, sell decision. And this is where families tend to fall asleep, because they hang on to their legacy business. And the legacy business, oh, we can't sell that till mom dies because dad had it, And the legacy business may be the worst performing one of all. But we want to have a vigorous, what I would call a Peter Lynch of Merrill Lynch. What do we own and why do we own it? Whether that's real estate or whether that's an operating company or that's investments elsewhere. So the question becomes, if you weave all of what I've said so far this morning about inherited wealth versus earned wealth, about competency, about driving succession, is are we going to build a generation of young people that are going to harvest, or are they going to hustle? We had a long talk about this yesterday at our meeting in Dallas, about how if you're the heir, you are expected to work harder and longer. You are to avoid the stereotype of coming in at 10 and leaving at 3. You are supposed to park the Mercedes or the BMW, or God help you, the Ferrari, not in the employee parking lot. I had a neighbor who was heir to a $500 million company in Lake Forest. He had a Ferrari in the garage and a Taurus out front, and every day he drove his Ford Taurus to work. I thought it was very clever. Only on the weekends would he start zipping down the street in the Ferrari. So anyhow, we've got to reset, adapt, and reinvent the family business. And this gets us to the platform model. So I've seen so many healthy family businesses. This is the thrust of this whole talk, is to get out of one lane. And this one is just, we just picked 4 different industries. On the left is manufacturing, and moving left to right, logistics, real estate, and call it fashion. But just to build this platform in a family business where you can diversify. And it's not just economically smart. It's a little like reallocating your investment platform every year. It's not only economically smart, but it's smart in terms of the health of your family, because of the client I recently had 18 members of the next generation, G3, only 2 have decided to go into the family business. Well, what does that say about the attractiveness or the career path of that family business? And some of them, we have some very delicate conversations. John, I don't want to tell my father that I'm not a worthy heir to his life's work. Will you help me with that? I don't want to make sausage in Chicago all the rest of my life, as somebody said to me once. So we have to decide the questions of, do we want to sell the family business, want to sell part of the family business? Do we want to get some, as the family grows, some clients have literally hundreds of heirs, hundreds, and they have coded by lineage and by generation. They have to decide, do I want to get out? Because I think it's healthy for family businesses to have an exit path. I think it's okay to say, I want to stay in the family, but I want to take my chips and put them elsewhere. So I have to work on that as well. We relaunch and reset. And we look at a diversified platform. We can talk about their allocation strategy. These are all the benefits of doing that. And then I've listed 10, 12 lessons of family wealth. I'm not going to go through them. You can get them if you ask for this presentation. But these are the 10 or 12, and including things like women must be respected as worthy heirs and contributors to the family business. And my last motto is, a family should say, when it gets tough, no matter what, we can work it out. Thank you very much.